What's up, YouTube? Welcome to Bible Wisdom. I wanted to share about conflict. I just learned some good things from Saving Your Marriage Before It Starts, a book by Les and Leslie Parrott. And, they said that conflict is a healthy part of marriage. I also heard in the book how he was saying how, marriage is not necessarily, it's a way of life that people choose to live. And I thought that was interesting that he said that because, it seemed like it opened my understanding to, knowing that, marriage doesn't necessarily automatically make you happier, even though it does, but or it brings stability in your life, or it's just a way that people choose to live. And you still have to deal with your problems. Your problems don't just go away when you get married. And so, but anyway, I wanted to talk about conflict. He was saying how, a couple who doesn't have any conflict in their life, in their marriage, will sound something like this, where he goes, a spouse comes home and they say, "Hi, honey, how are you?" And they say, "Oh, my day was just the usual. How about you?" And then they were saying, "Oh, what do you want to do today?" And so I guess I just said that to say it's an example to show how there's no bonding in that relationship, because it's just so of course you want to be polite, but they were saying how conflict sometimes bonds the relationship. It makes you grow closer because you are sharing what your real likes and dislikes are, and you're being truthful about what is going on with you. Of course, you should be truthful. But anyway, Les Parrott talked about how, Dr. Parrott talked about how there needs to be a healthy conflict. He said that you shouldn't name call. Don't name call to your spouse. Don't call them out of their name. The saying, "Sticks and stones may never hurt you. Sticks and stones may break your bones, but words will never hurt you," is a lie. Words are hurtful. And he's saying how there is a healthy way to have conflict, because it's not ideal that you will never have something that you want to do different. I remember that my wife and I got into an argument about what movie we should go to. And she was wanting to go to this movie. And I was like, "Oh, I don't want to see that movie." And I remember how it just kind of like blew up from there. And, we were like, I ended up just being like, okay, let's just go to the movie, and so we went to a movie at a different location. But, I remember just it being so kind of trivial, and that's what they were saying, that in the book, they were talking about how you can have an argument about something that is so kind of unimportant. And so one of the things that they said was to make sure you know what you're arguing about, because it's so easy to kind of argue about something and it's not clear between you and that person why you are arguing. Why is this conflict here? Why is this tension here? And they said, don't be afraid of strife in your relationship where there's tension. But also he said how to just be clear about what your true feelings are, you know, because he gave an example about how a couple was going to paint their kitchen, and the wife was like, you know, oh, I want to paint the kitchen light blue. And the husband was like, oh, you know, he kind of didn't really share his true feelings about light blue. He kind of did. And so, but it wasn't clear. And so the wife, while he was gone, ended up painting the kitchen light blue. And he was like, when he got home, he was like, wait, what is this? You know, why is the kitchen light blue? And she was like, well, I thought you didn't care, and so I painted it light blue. And he was like, no, I really don't want it light blue. And so he used that example to say, be clear about what you are arguing about, you know, and then also make sure you're sharing your feelings clearly. And those are some of the points that I wanted to leave you with, is that, remember not to name call. You know, don't call your spouse out of your name. And he also said, don't argue about either sex or parents. You know, don't say how your spouse, it's easy to call your spouse out on something that they're not doing sexually. And he said, don't take that argument as a chance to try to win the argument by saying something about them sexually, or what they're not doing in bed or something. And then also he was saying how don't talk about their parents in a bad way. So anyway, I wanted to make this video to say that, you know, conflict is a part of a marriage, and it's not always can be avoided. And he's saying that sometimes oppressing your feelings is not healthy. And in a healthy marriage, there is conflict, but being able to fight healthy in a way where, of course, you're honoring Jesus. You know, Jesus has laid out, you know, rules about how we're to live. Like, you need to forgive your spouse. You know, I was just at a men's meeting at my church, and he said how you can either be right or you can be happy. And so I thought that was clever saying, because, you know, sometimes, you know, you want to be right and you feel like you're right in a certain situation, but the way that you're displaying that correctness, or the way that you're displaying what you want, is not going to make you both happy. And so being able to come to an agreement about a certain thing is important. And then also, you know, like I was going to say, Jesus, he wants us to forgive the other person. You know, he wants us to operate in forgiveness. You know, try to express what you are feeling in a calm way. And not rise to a level where your tone is wrong, where you are yelling at your spouse, or you're also criticizing. In the book, he talked about how there's a difference between complaining, and there's a difference between complaining and criticizing your spouse. And so he said criticizing is bad, because you can be making statements like, oh, you're so selfish, you never do this right, you're just a bad person, type of thing. And those are wrong. But complaining about something like a behavior, like, you know, oh, you know, I don't like how the clothes are all over the place. You're a good spouse, but I just need you to clean up the clothes more, you know, so the house isn't so messy. You know, being able to not bring down that person specifically, you know, but complaining about something that is a changeable behavior. And then also being able, I've heard it said that you need to be able to learn to live with some things. You know, there's some things that maybe your spouse is not able to change immediately. They're not able to some things are hard to do. And so you need to be able to have patience with your spouse. And the Bible says to not dwell bitterly with your spouse. If you're a husband to a wife, to not dwell bitterly with them. Bitter means your heart is hard. You're upset all the time with what your spouse is doing, and you're always criticizing your spouse, bringing them down, saying negative things about them. And that's hard to do. I remember in the beginning of my marriage, I remember during dating, it was really easy to kind of get along. We saw each other, every so often, even every day sometimes, I guess, but ever so often mostly. And once we got married and moved in together, I feel like the tension just rose. And so it brings out things within you that you didn't really know that are there, or it just highlights things that are there that you didn't really pay attention about. And so you need tools in order to properly deal with disagreements, and especially some of the big things to argue about is money. And then also maybe something else like raising the children, or bigger things, bigger major issues. And so they said to come up with a budget, come up with how you want to spend your money, come up with talking about these things. And so anyway, I hope you found this video helpful. I hope that it benefits you in some way. And I hope that you can pray about your situation, and of course live out the Bible. Live out what Jesus is calling us to do, and he will help us. So thank you so much, and I'll talk to you in the next video. See ya.